One of my grail figures has finally come to legacy. Beast Wars Universe Magmatron is here, released in a commanding commander scale, a meticulous recreation of the original figure with modern aesthetics and tricks. But does bigger also mean better? Welcome back to the show, it's Gay for May. Now, for all the piglets out there who aren't caught up on their deep Beast Wars lore, Magmatron hails from Beast Wars Neo, the Japanese exclusive sequel to Beast Wars 2. Yeah, Beast Wars was so good they made Beast Wars 2. Some Western fans act like real FDRs when it comes to the Japanese, but you have to give them props for how innovative and progressive they've been with the franchise. Like when they made Transformers for girls. Following Galvatron's defeat at the hands of Lio Convoy and his Maximal team, capsules infused with the mysterious Anglemon energy were proliferated across the universe. In response, Magmatron leads a team of his own dastardly Dinobots to reclaim this power for the Predacons, while attempting to thwart his longtime nemesis, Maximal Commander Big Convoy, by any underhanded means necessary. Let's check out the box for once. We haven't done that in a while. It's a large commander-sized package featuring awesome new art of Magmatron locked in a battle with Big Convoy, based off their confrontation in the 6th episode. The artwork contains a few Easter eggs for fans of the show too. There's an Anglemon capsule on this cliff. You can see D-Navi, the navigation unit of Magmatron's ship, the dinosaur. There's even a shot of the Maximal ship, the Gung Ho. And on the side, there's art of the individual dinosaur modes, referencing Magmatron's triple dinosaur attack in the anime. Magmatron's 3 separate beast modes are named Landsaur, Skysaur, and Seymour. These 3 dinosaurs will combine to form the new Emperor of Destruction in due time, but let's take a look at them individually first. Landsaur is a liter-sized purple Giganotosaurus. That's like the Joker version of Barney the dinosaur. I cannot tell you for sure how accurate he is to the currently accepted science regarding this dinosaur, nor can I for any of these guys really. I like dinosaurs, but you know, as a friend. They did give him inward-facing hands, and if they hadn't, I know the entirety of Paleo Twitter would have personally firebombed Chris Cox's house. There's 2 crappy things about this beast though. First of all, his jaw can barely open. If a carnivorous theropod doesn't look like he bout to bite a chunk out of that ass, why even bother? Secondly, his dino dumpy is made up of hinged parts that do not lock together well, so his lower body tends to shift and come apart when you move his legs around. Next is Skysaurus, who is a Quetzalcoatlus. Now, I know for sure his ass is not accurate, because Quetzalcoatlus is supposed to be big as shit. He's only about a deluxe-sized figure, so he's quite small compared to his brothers. But I do appreciate the wing articulation they gave him. What I don't like is that he doesn't have a stand port for flying poses. I've got this little claw struggling to wrap around his protruding gut instead. You'd think Hasbro would be more inclined to put a hole in the toy and save themselves a penny's worth of plastic. And finally, we have Seymour, who is an Elasmosaurus, a type of plesiosaur with one of the longest necks on record for any animal in history. The actual throat goat, not counting my sister. He has a ton of joints in his impressively sized neck, making him very dynamic to pose. So he's a little more fun to play with alone than his compatriots. Plus, he gives me an excuse to use my Bandai Tamashii blue effect waves for once. The 3 dinosaurs also have another secret. They can combine into another beast mode. The term combine is a bit generous maybe, since you basically just shove Landsaurus into Seasaurus while Skysaurus lays on top of them, forming what 20th century paleontologist Barnum Brown might refer to as a kind of Orgy-saurus. Yeah, Mr. Bones, that's what the ladies call me too. It is very silly, but Magmatron actually does turn into this in the show, and it looks pretty cool animated. More of a dragon or a dinosaur centaur. At least it holds together well, and I'm glad Hasbro cares enough about this obscure character and his goofy ass combined mode to engineer such a thing in this day and age. But what the fuck is this? I know it's Seasaurus's tail, but why is it just dangling here? Shit, maybe this really is an Orgisaurus. He's standing here with his huge dino-donger flopping out, like he's ready to engage in some Cretaceous copulation. Listen, I've looked at the instructions and I did not see any mention of what to do with this tailpiece. But I think you're supposed to stuff it into Landsaurus's Paleolithic voice. Walking with dinosaurs, more like porking with dinosaurs. Combining 3 dinosaurs into one fella seems daunting, especially at first, but the process is relatively simple, as long as you remember who forms what and in what order. Lansaurus forms the main body, Skysaurus forms the head, and Seymour becomes the arms and back, completing what is known by science today as a dinosaur sandwich. I actually think it's more difficult to take them apart and turn them back into dinosaurs. Lansaur, Skysaur, and Seymour combine to form Magmatron's colossal robot mode. This thing outsizes even big leaders like G2 Cheezosaurus over here. This figure absolutely oozes decadence, from the multiple dinosaur heads draped across his body like barbarian war pelts, to his gold accented shoulder pad and codpiece. Damn, he's really calling attention to that shit. If he's made out of 3 dinosaurs, does that mean he has 3 Peepees? Bro even has jellery, these little purple spark crystals encrusted into his wing and shoulder pad, emblazoned with the Predacon badge. There's even one on his sword, but we'll talk about that later. And I love how they've sculpted his face to capture his trademark scowl, his silvery fangs gritting in a permanent grimace. Now, a big boy like this deserves big chunky joints too. His shoulders, elbows, hips, and knees are all satisfying, clicky, ratcheting joints, which is perfect to help this monster of a figure maintain balance and poses. He also has some well-articulated hands, not only having wrist swivels and moving fingers, but an extra hinge for outward wrist movement too. His range of articulation is pretty decent, but his posability is a different story. Posing him dynamically can feel very clunky and stiff, due in part to the literal physical size and thickness of his body and limbs. What does not help are the extraneous pieces sticking off of him, such as these hip skirts, which have a habit of getting in the way of his leg movement. And as you've probably guessed, turning his head is quite a chore too. These giant-ass wings collide with the other dinosaur heads. Not that there's much room to turn either, with these pterosaur limbs getting in the way. The original Magmatron had trouble turning his head too, so I respect the hustle of trying to improve upon a 30-year-old figure. But this character was clearly not conceived with this level of articulation in mind. Magmatron's main weapons are his sword and shield. The sword is made up of Lansaurus's dick meat and tail, while the shield is basically the entire lower half of Seymour. Haters will say it's parts forming. He also has a pair of red twin blades stashed away in his wings for a rainy day. I believe they functioned as missiles on the original toy. Remember when Transformers had actual play features? The only play feature we got these days is your mom's mouth. Magmatron also includes a set of blast effect parts. It's those classic explodey flame pieces we've come to know and love. Due to the increasing costs, size, and engineering going into these Commander class figures, I wasn't at all surprised that these pieces were left out of Menasor and Armada Prime. But I am surprised that Magmatron included them, since he doesn't have a f***ing gun. However, when I was watching the show, I found out he can fire the blade of his sword out like a missile. The box art suggests the recommended usage of these parts is as a means to recreate this feature. I am shocked, honestly, because this implies somebody at Hasbro went out of their way to actually watch this show. There's no Western release for this series, by the way. Piracy is ethical. I'm so happy to have this figure, honestly, and the fact that this set features so many deep references to the character and series he comes from makes me feel like they gave a shit about something other than G1 for once. And if you want to learn more about some other Japanese exclusive characters, check out this review next. But anyway, that's just my opinions. Please leave yours in the comments below. Bye bye.